You've made some comments about earnings being kind of mixed so far, and then you made an interesting point that CFOs may use the government shutdown as a way to massage guidance and lower expectations that they can eventually beat maybe in the future. But in near term, that might be disappointing. What kind of earnings season overall are you expecting here?
Well, so far we've been getting about 11% earnings growth, which sounds pretty good, but it's way down from 25% that was in the third quarter. And people are beginning to think about the full year 2019. Remember, we're still looking at the end of 2018 when we say 11% for the last quarter. We're now looking at 2019 around 6%, 5, 7, somewhere in that range. And people don't really know yet. It's very early in the year. So companies don't want to promise too much and then get slammed later in the year. They're going to do like Apple did and under-promise and say how terrible things are. They've got a great excuse. The shutdown is a great excuse. Slowdown in China, great excuse. They're going to do what they can to be, I think, a little bit more cautious in what they tell investors through this week and next week, through the end of the reporting season. And I think that may dampen expectations a little bit. So we'll see what the Fed has to say, whether they likewise will dampen expectations or simply say that the economy is pretty much where people had expected. But I think that does present some risk to stocks in the near term. Longer term, it sets up a very nice recovery through the rest of the year.
You think that, people need to own Apple probably, a lot of them, right? And obviously, it was much cheaper than it had been. If I was going to get back in, if I were someone who had to own it for whatever reason, will that give it's happening so far this morning, but will that give a firmer tone to the stock market for at least a day or two, or no? It could be Boeing could just throw a wrench in the works when it reports.
I'm not going to predict day-to-day movements in the market. That's random noise. I'm looking at the longer term. The longer term says stocks are much more attractively priced now than they were 6 months ago, 3 months ago even. But at the same time, there's going to be volatility, and we may very well go back to the Christmas Eve lows. I can envision scenarios where enough companies have cautious earnings that people will get there. That would be a huge buying opportunity, in my opinion. We'll see if the market tests that or if it just keeps bouncing along and improving.
So